page 58. "Oh, Johnny," she cried and buried her head against his shoulder. "But, Mother, what are you going to do with turkeys if you can't sell them?" persisted Tom. "We're going to eat them," cried Mrs. Woodlawn, lifting a dauntless head from her husband's shoulder. "We'll hang them up and freeze them when the cold weather comes. We'll have roast turkey and cranberry sauce every day this winter." "Hooray!" shouted Caddie and Warren, waltzing each other around and around the barnyard. "Hooray!" shouted Tom, imitating Uncle Edmund's hornpipe. "Hooray! Hooray!" piped Teddy and little Minnie, running out of the house to hear what all the commotion was about. Mrs. Conrad, who had come out at the first gobble of the returning turkeys, leaned her elbows on the fence and wagged her head. "Faith, ye'll be so pleased before the winter's over," she said. "Hush, Katie Conrad," cried her mistress. "They'll be tired of turkey soon enough, but let them enjoy themselves while they can." "Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!" shouted the Woodlawn children. A schoolroom battle. These autumn days were busy at once indoors as well as out. School would soon be starting for the winter, and everyone must have the proper clothing. New dresses and suits must be made, and old ones mended, cleaned, and refitted to the younger children. Katie Hyman's mother came out from the village to make the dresses. She was a clever seamstress and had only Katie's clothes to make, so she was glad of the extra work which the Woodlawns could give her. Sometimes yellow-haired Katie came with her, sitting sedately among the billows of brown and blue denim and blue and dotted challis, the stitching neat seams like her mother's. She looked shyly at the Woodlawn children from under her long lashes. They looked at her with equal embarrassment. Such a quiet little girl, who didn't ride horseback and was afraid of boys and cows. They were not scornful at her. They simply could not think of a thing to say to her. Only Tom, to Caddie's great astonishment, once gave her an apple and his best Indian arrowhead. Whoever would have suspected Tom of that? There were always blue and brown denim dresses and suits for every day. The Sunday clothes were more exciting. They were made of nice dark woolens, and the girls had roughly white aprons to wear over them. What fun it was to try things on and turn about before the mirror, while Mrs. Hyman, with her mouth full of pins, begged you to stand still. The boys did not enjoy the trying on so much. In fact, Tom got all red and cross when he had to be tried on, with Katie Hyman sitting by. She scarcely looked up at all, but went on stitching with her yellow curls falling down in front of her face. But Tom would stumble over the footstool that held the dish of pins, and his hands hung out of the short, tight sleeves of the short, tight jacket like helpless sausages. That year there were wonderful winter coats for the girls. They were made of red and black checked woolen cloth, which had been woven from the wool of their own sheep. To make them even finer, Father laid on the trimming braid himself. By the evening lamplight, when he was not mending clocks, he stitched the braid in place in neat and beautiful designs. So the autumn slipped by, and it was winter. They were glad of the warm winter coats on the first day of school, for snow had fallen in the night and covered the ground with a thick white blanket. "Why do we have to go to school in the coldest weather?" complained Hetty. She was wrapped in a muffler to the tip of her nose, and she had on a pair of red woolen mittens which were fastened together with a string around her neck under the red and black checked coat. She and Caddie and the two boys were walking across the snowy fields together. Clara had finished school last year, and little Minnie would not start until next. "It's because we're too poor to have a teacher to ourselves all year round," replied Caddie. "The children of Durham have a teacher for the spring and fall, and we get her the rest of the time. And we're lucky, too," said Tom. "If I've got to go to school, I'd rather go in the winter when there isn't so much fun outdoors." "How about summer?" cried Warren. "Well, that's bad," admitted Tom, "but still, I like spring and fall the best for fun." "Anyway," said Caddie, "it's only 2 months in summer and 3 in winter, and I like school." "I'd like it too, if it wasn't for Obadiah Jones," said Hetty. "If I was teacher, I'd make those Jones boys behave," said Caddie. "Teacher's scared of Obadiah Jones," said Warren. "He's as big as she is, and she doesn't lick him." "I could lick him for her, if she'd let me," said Tom. "He needs it." I'll tell Mother if you go to fighting, Tom, warned Hetty in her piping voice. We'll wash her face in snow if you go bearing tales on Tom, counted Warren and Caddie. Other muffled figures were coming across fields toward the little schoolhouse at Donville. Look, shouted Caddie, there's Maggie and Silas Bunn. Hey, Maggie, wait! And she danced off to catch her best friend, whom she had seen only once or twice since summer. A column of blue smoke poured out of the schoolhouse chimney. Miss Parker, the teacher, with a shawl over her head and shoulders, stood in the doorway, ringing a bell to hasten the feet of the stragglers. There was a great stamping of snowy feet in the woodshed and hall, and a clatter of lunch buckets and voices as the children took off their wraps and hung them on their hooks. The one small room of the schoolhouse was often cold, but today it was hot and filled with smoke from the newly started fire. The boys sat on one side and the girls on the other, about 20 children in all, and often varying in age from 6 to 21. Some were clothed and mannered, others were almost as wild as the creatures that roamed in the woods. Quiet and shy in the corner by themselves were Sam Atkinson's little half-breed children. They watched all that went on with bright black eyes. That's 613. It's page 63, which will continue next time.